Good evening. Is that one like stream of light like going down the middle? Hello, all. Good evening. Welcome to the Realm of Comics Book Club meeting for today. How's everyone doing? I hope everyone is doing all right. I am checking for something really quickly. Trying to figure something out, y'all. Um, Today was a long day, y'all, and not necessarily in a bad way. It wasn't a bad day. It just was a long day. It was a lot. Um today was a long day. So I'm very tired. Today was I did a lot of moving of books today, like literally physically moving books today, and so I'm kind of like I'm done for. But tonight we're going to be talking about um three books, which were all very short, very quick reads. And that is Tea Dragon Society, the Tea Dragon Festival, and the Tea Dragon Tapestry. Um, which I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all, I really did enjoy all of those. Like, they were great. So, as we do with all of our sessions, as I'll call them, as we do with all of our sessions, um, go not people showing up who usually don't come to book club because we finally picked a title that is universally known and read. And so everybody's like, I've read it. So if you want to go ahead and drop your ratings of each one of these in the comments, I'll go first while y'all are typing your responses out. Um, I would say the first two for me were definitely 4-star reads. And the third one, I feel like, was more of like a 4.5. So I think that's where I'm going. They didn't quite reach, I think I wanted them to be 5-star pickups for me, but they weren't this time around, this go around. They weren't 5-star reads for me, which is fine. 5.45. Okay, Jessica. When did you I read all of mine between yesterday and today because you told me that they were pretty quick reads. And they're really quick reads. Probably I'm going back. I went to go pull up the things that we've read so far this year. And I must say we've read some chunkers this year. And I think that this is probably the shortest of everything that we've read so far this year, which is interesting. Okay. The color, yeah. The inking and the coloring of these is really good. But the creator, Kay O'Neill, has a very, I want to say a very unique, but really a very unique and very obvious art style. I read The Moth Keeper by them last year, and if you like the artwork and kind of the cozy fantasy esque vibes that Tea Dragon gives off, I think that you would really enjoy Moth Keeper as well. The Moth Keeper is what it's called. Uh, I really like that one too. They really brought in some interesting conversations, which I think they also did in these three as well. 5.45, cool. See Scarlett. Just excited. I'm excited to have you here, Steph. I really am. Just bought me copies of Predicament. All 5 stars for me. I feel you, Marissa. Well, today just finished the last 1 hour ago. Yeah, they're quick. Very, very quick. 5.4. 5, 4.5. 5, 4.5, and 5. I got you. These 5 stars for me. I love the art so much. Yes, the artwork is beautiful. Oh, yay. I was going to ask you how you felt about the disability rep. I thought it was handled well, but also, I'm coming from a very, very different lens. Yes, the Moth Keeper was fantastic. Um, it was absolutely gut wrenching, but such a beautiful graphic novel. Oh, a bit too flat for nighttime reading. Gotcha. Second one was 4 for me because I wish I'd read it first. I hate reading shit out of order. Oh, because it was a prequel of sorts. Which is interesting. Okay, so for those of you who are newly here who haven't been to one of our book club live shows before, typically we all give our readings in the chat, and then we kind of go through each one and have a little bit of a discussion on it. Some of the discussions are more intense than others, depending upon what we're talking about. I know the one that we did last month, we had a lot of feelings about the progression of that story. And that was Malika Warrior Queen. That was a huge discussion piece for us as a group last month. This one, to be honest with y'all, when I was reading it, I was like, I think there's much to be said about the commentary, like regarding like the artwork. Um, I think that the coloring is such a wise choice for this series. I think that I've always had a difficult time figuring out what um, cozy fantasy is, and I feel like definitely this entire series gives cozy fantasy vibes. Um, the reason why I feel like it did not give 5-star energy for me. I think they're very good, but 5-star energy for me um, is that I wanted a little bit more meat to the story. But that's just me, as my preference is whenever I pick up a graphic novel. That's just a personal preference for me. And so that's why I wasn't able to kind of push for the 5 stars. I think the last volume is the one that came very, very close to being 5 stars. I gave it a 4.5, which after we talk, there's always an opportunity for me to bump it up another star. But the reason why I rated that one significantly higher is because I absolutely love the discussions about grief and change. And I think that for a graphic novel series that's typically geared at a younger audience, I think that it was handled very, very well. And we saw grief in several different forms, which I thought was very, very unique. So we're not only seeing grief from one perspective, we're seeing it in different facets, and I really, really like that, and how a lot of these characters are going through very, very significant change, and change being kind of this inevitable part of life, and each one of them handles it so differently, ultimately coming to the same conclusion of, at some point you learn to adjust and adapt, and it's not easy, but the adaptation does eventually happen. And so I really, really appreciated that, and kind of seeing how we have the tea dragon that was grieving. We have, y'all know I'm horrible with names. Oh, goodness gracious. Why can't I remember the two characters that we meet in the beginning that are together? Somebody remind me of their names, please. Because I'm struggling. It's like I can see it, but I can't see it. The grief from their perspective of how their lives ultimately like changed so drastically. after one of them was injured and now uses a wheelchair, how that changed the course or trajectory of their lives. They were these bounty hunters. Very, they were very, like, much so, I think, like travelers, adventurers, that type of situation. And once that injury occurred, it kind of felt like, their lives definitely hit a different course, hit a different path. And seeing how the two of them had to make that adjustment was very interesting. And I liked that there was support in that relationship where it was like, I don't want you to feel like my life is no longer good because I'm with you and now you have to use a wheelchair. And now am helping you adjust to having to use a wheelchair. Like, I love you in all facets. However you may come to me, I love you. I care for you, which I thought was really good. Um, Sorry, y'all. Catching up on comments. Let's see. Yeah, I did like the shift in the artwork was really, really nice going from spring, summer, autumn, and seeing how the palette changed each time we hit a different season. I did appreciate that. And it was good. There's, some detailing in there that I really, really did enjoy. I did. I did. I think what the interesting thing is, Elises, is that like, um, I it's kind of hard when you do a book club, right? Not to compare things that you've read. And so with everything that we've read so far this year, I think this was very much so, in my opinion, can come off a little bit as a palate cleanser because we've hit some very dense, meaty, hardcore discussion type things uh, this entire year. And so I think coming into this, this is very much so um, easygoing, very whimsical, with some deeper, more impactful undertones. But for the most part, it's very surface level, which I not saying that I don't appreciate that because this is very much so targeted at a different age demographic. I think everything else that we have read this year has been targeted towards either a teen audience or an adult audience. And this is the first time this year where we are stepping into something that is targeted at a younger age group. So trying to keep that in mind as well when I was kind of thinking about like, oh yeah, it's not giving me more. I wanted a little bit more from it. I'm glad that it works like that for you, Marissa. I really do. Yeah, yeah. You took it. Jessica took what I just said in clearly very condensed and more concise way of saying this. You appreciate it. I need to look 45, but also do I need these? Yeah, I think that one of the things that I struggled with, and one of the things I could see being a question, which is good, especially if like parents and kids are kind of reading these in like in tandem with each other. Like the relationship dynamics were very interesting. I think that there was a lot of great queer rep that wasn't overstated. I think as an adult, it was very easy to pick up on the queer rep in the books. Outside of our main two characters that clearly were in a relationship with each other, there were other characters that definitely I think were quoted as queer. Um, and but you don't really definitely know. And so for me, those were some of the things. Like I couldn't tell if Eric's sibling, if them and the dragon were together. I couldn't tell. Like I was very, and that's very much so the adult side of me coming in, right? Um, that's very much so the adult interpretation coming in because I was like, wait, so at one point I know Ezekiel and Eric were talking and they were saying that um I think was it Ezekiel who said that Eric's sibling and their friend, right? Um, and so that one of those last panels in the third one where they were they were standing at that tree and there was like this moment and I was like, I are they together or like are they not? Is this supposed to be kind of like a representation of maybe like a character that could possibly, or two characters that could possibly be like a romantic? Like, that to me was where it got a little like, okay, I guess I just interpret this however I want to interpret it. Um, but I'm like you, Jessica, like I really needed them to be together. I really needed them to be together. I thought that their vibe and their chemistry was just really great. And that very endearing and beautiful scene where they made this entire feast and included all of the leaves from the tea dragons to bring the dragon into the fold, like make them feel like they were part of the community. Um, I, like, like, tell me that is not love. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, I'm going back up to the comments. Sorry, y'all. Um, let's see. Becky Chambers, A Prayer for Crown. Okay, I haven't read that. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I did want more, but I felt like she had the marker shit out to the story. Like she didn't hint we'd get more and then not deliver. True, 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 true. I only read the first one, but it felt like, oh, Heather. Love the love. I want to buy it. Oh, not Hannah dropping the lines. Now I see why everyone was saying, "Oh, that's sweet." I'm glad. It is a vibe. It is. It's one of those you have to go with the vibes. And I think this is one of those series where I definitely had to check myself because I also know that I'm not a like, let's go with the vibes. I'm just gonna vibe. Like that's not me as a person. Like when it comes to reading, that's not me. Um, and there are people who will tell you like going in for just the vibes, it's hard. It's a very hard thing for me to do. Um, and so I had to be like, okay, just you literally are just gonna have to go with this. And take it for what it is at face value. They could have been best friends. They could have been best friends, but I definitely like I definitely felt like they were together. Really? Scarlett, you didn't get of Eric and Ezekiel being together? Really? I coded them as being a couple. Which is, I think, once again, this is kind of one of those. This is probably one of those more unique elements about the series is that um, everyone can read this and interpret aspects of it very differently. But that I read them as coded as being together. Oh, the other two, I couldn't. I don't know. Like at the French, it was confusing. I think because um at first I didn't read them as together, right? The dragon and Eric's sibling. That's Eric's sibling. Um, I didn't read them as coded as being together at first, right? But that end, those last panels at the end of the second book, I was like, that's a huge that's a huge romantic fucking gesture. And I'm not saying that you can't do grand things for friends, but I struggled very differently. I struggled very much so with figuring out the dynamics of their relationship. But I did like the scene where Rena said, do you have, this is one of the panels that really, really stuck out to me. Where Rena said, do you have dragons that can shift in between being a boy and a girl? And the dragon's like, yeah, they're just some of us who like to just float back and forth between the two and just like feel free to do so. Um, and then when Rena says, does Rena say, that must be nice, or that sounds nice, or something along those lines? I immediately started like, okay, I feel like we're getting um, some non binary, gender non conforming representation here within this specific character. Is it Rena or Ren? Maybe it's Ren? Wait, who? It's Ren. Okay. What homegirl? Who are we talking about, Scarlett? Y'all know I don't remember names. So this is a struggle for me. I just know Greta's dad. Who's Greta? Describe to me who they're connected to, and then I'll be able to answer the questions because names and I don't get along. Oh, the main character. Um, Greta's dad was in the first one, correct? Like very, very briefly. Unless I'm making that up. But Greta's I feel like Greta's dad was present very, very quickly. Okay, okay. I was like, maybe I'm losing my mind there, but I was pretty sure that he made like a quick appearance in the first one. Trying to think about what else stood out to me. I think I like the myth and the lore. Um, that was in like a panel. I think I appreciated like the myth and the lore of like the actual tea dragons. And then I thought it was like really, really funny when we meet the dragon in the second one and we find out that there's no true connection between like dragons like that character and then the tea dragons. Um and then I love that everybody calls them like cheeky brats. Like they're all like the tea dragons are brats. Like we respect them. They give us so much in terms of like this tea, and we love caring for them. But at the same time, they're complete and utter freaking brats. And I thought that that was actually the cutest thing ever. I thought it was really, really cute and endearing. Mm, not me getting indigestion while on a live show. That's wild. Um, But outside of that, y'all, to be quite honest, this is the first time that I have literally, not gonna lie to y'all, this is the first time that I literally have stepped into or thought about a art book club live show, and I've been like, dang, like what could we talk about? Like, because I mean the biggest things for me were the artwork, the the way that grief is navigated through each one of those characters. Um, Especially the third one with Minette and how she struggles so much with not being able to fulfill her the expectations or the shoes that her parents have kind of set out for her, and how she did all this training to become this prophetess and burns out and literally doesn't remember anything else and can't go home or doesn't want to go home because it just is kind of like, I can't, like, that's an old life that I can't go back to. Um, and that to me was, that probably was one of the harder hitting parts of the third one for me, reading it, just that sense of this part of my life I eventually have to let go of. And I like that when she connected with her ancestor, the response was, "You have to remember that who you are right now is already whole." And I think even as an adult, I can relate to when you don't fulfill the expectations of people, particularly like parents and guardians, that it does leave this sense of emptiness or this sense of incompletion. And so you don't feel like you're a whole person. And seeing her kind of like blossom, I think, across the three books was for me, I feel like I liked her character development more than anyone else's across all three of the books because we see her in that first volume, very reserved, very quiet, scared of like not knowing who she was to we get into this third book and she's become more comfortable with being a part of this community and having kind of this found family, right? But still there is this kind of struggle and trauma that she has to work through to get to the finish line. And even when we get to the end, until we get to the epilogue, like she still it's not a perfect ending. Um, so it's for me, I thought that that was very, very fascinating with her as a character. And even though she was not the center at all times, I really do think that she is hands down like one of my favorite characters out of the book. And that could just be me kind of dealing with my own things and kind of projecting them onto her, or just really find myself really connecting with her as a character, and like internally like reminding myself too that who you are in this moment is whole, complete, and enough. And she had to kind of learn that. And I do like in the epilogue that we do get to see a parent or family member or caregiver is there, that they do come and visit her, which I think is, it's a nice full circle type of moment. It is sad, like the inability to like sleep, um, like just not like being very, very disturbed, mentally and emotionally, that it started to manifest itself physically. I think those were the hardest moments for me to read because it's so true. Um, for me, at least in my experiences, is that like if I'm struggling very much so mentally and emotionally, it will begin to present itself physically. And you see that with her, and it's yeah, I did like I really really liked her story throughout this whole thing. Yes, yes, yes. It was I feel the same way. I feel the same exact way. I'm so glad that you pointed this out. It is like Kate anth anthrop somebody help me get this word. And like I'm about to count this out like phonics. Anthropomorphize them. Today is a Wednesday and I'm struggling. But yes, I did appreciate that. It was very true to the plants, which as a tea drinker, I think that that was very, very well done. Yes. Yes. And I like that there was a notation at the beginning so that you knew when a character was only signing and when a character was signing and using oral communication as well at the same time. So I thought that I love that there was that in the beginning, and then that Kate also provided resources for those who wanted to know more, at the end of that book. I thought that that was great. Oh, Hannah, this must be one of your favorites. I think this is one of your favorites. Hmm. Exactly. Good point. Good point. Good point. Sweet as Michelle patient kind of yes, being kind to yourself was like a huge thing. Like that's something that which is why I keep saying I think I personally connected to her a lot as a character because um and I know Marissa, like we've talked about this a lot, like whenever you're going through like those huge internal battles, especially when it's connected to loved ones, like you will often reflect on yourself in such a negative way and you're hard on yourself and you don't give yourself any grace or any kindness. And she had to learn like throughout the course of time that she had to be a little bit more kind to hear that great storylines. Yeah, yeah. I see what you're saying. Instead of it just being like you mean like instead of it just being just like panel work at the end? Like you want it to be an actual written storyline. Listen, I was about to you know how like I don't know if y'all were ever taught like when you counted how many syllables were in a word. Like I was literally about that. I was gonna sit here and count and time because I'm also working with a child right now on, phonemic awareness and stuff. So sounding words out is like a new thing that I mean, I still do that as an adult, but I realize I think I'm more into doing that because I have to do that with my child. So it's like I was gonna sit here, I was gonna sound that word out. So I got it right. So yes, 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 absolutely. Yeah, yeah. That's a good one too. Yeah, I do think that that was a good storyline for Greta as well. Like Greta having a mother that was um Greta having a mother that was well known and famous, which I thought was an interesting kind of introduction into Greta's storyline, was that her mother was well known um, for the work that she had done, and Greta, wanting to look at her work and trying to figure out like what should I make? What should I be doing? And then having to come to the realization is that you have to follow your heart and what makes you happy and your creations, what brings you the most joy, what are you passionate about, and not doing what you think everybody expects you to do. Which is almost like that people pleaser aspect that I know that I struggle with and a lot of people struggle with is um not doing with everyone what everyone expects of you, doing what makes you happy at the end of the day. Oh, absolutely nothing. There is not listen, and I literally was using anthropomorphic in the vlog. I literally just posted talking about Beneath the Trees where nobody whatever that series is called, where I was like, "Oh yeah, all the animals are anthropomorphic." Like knowing the word, but seeing it as anthropomorphic I guess, like I literally would have to look at that word in order to continue to say it. Like having that eyes at the end, it's just completely like it's fucking me up. Whale talk, you saying whale talk reminds me of Dory finding Nemo. Literally. I don't know if that's what you mean, but you say whale talk, I think Dory and finding Nemo. Um, okay, y'all. I really literally I think this is just one of those which is nice. I think we needed kind of a um I think we needed kind of a palate cleanser in between because last month was a heavy month. We read we read those two big volumes of Malika and then also um those two kind of like horror like Eve and what was the other one? The other one that wasn't bad, but it wasn't great, and I can't remember the name of it. Um, but yeah, so this was a nice kind of easy, low vibration type of read I think that we needed. Um, Hotel Dare. Thank you, Jessica. Um, I think this was a nice kind of break from it. Or kind of transition into what we're doing for the rest of the year. So, speaking of the rest of the year, and I'm not going to hold y'all, we are going to be actually the rest of the year, to be honest with y'all, the last big thing that we have for this year is going to be um Deadly Class. Deadly Class is the biggest thing that we have for the rest of this year. And that's because we're doing Deadly Class Book One, but that's not until September. I mean, not until December. Everything else, I think, is in terms of mounts, content, I feel like is a little bit more easygoing. So, next month for September, our meeting will be on, pulling up a calendar really quickly. It's going to be on September 25th because that's the last Wednesday of the month. We're going to be reading Banned Book Club by Kim Suk, which was a very intentional move because Banned Books Week is in September. And so I just thought, because I'm pretty sure that this one was my selection. So I'm pretty sure that just thematically, I wanted to go with something that was closely related to Banned Books Week, which is going to be in September. So it'd be nice for us to kind of read something that kind of aligns with that. But other than that, y'all, I is anybody participating in 30 and 30? Since that's literally right around the corner. Anybody participating? Um, I think for me that I'm trying to mentally prepare myself for that. Because I actually want to read my 30 volumes this month because I didn't do it in April. April was a rough month for me. So I am I'm gonna try to do my 30. If not, try to do a little um 60 and 30 because that's one of the challenges. I may try. I don't know if I'll complete it. Depends on how intense my September is, which it has potential to be pretty intense. One Piece is calling. Oh, y'all won't believe what I had some extra change. I don't really get extra change often. I had some extra change and I went and bought two of the One Piece Omnis because I refuse to do the single volumes. And I made the final decision that I wanted to collect because I was going back and forth on whether I wanted to collect or not. But if I'm gonna collect, I want to do the Omni. So I got the Omni that's 456 and the Omni that's 789. Um, so yes, I probably will try to get through some of One Piece. I'm nowhere near you and Hannah, Jessica, but I may try to get there. That's okay, y'all. Even if y'all can't do the full 30, it's a great way to um like prioritize manga and uh like see what other people are reading and getting recommendations. It's that and this is why. This is the only reason why I have a little bit of extra change is because yay for school instead of daycare. That changed a little bit. Not a lot. But it did permit me to be like, oh, you know what? I have an extra $20. I want to get these two things for myself because I don't ever get stuff for myself. And that's a problem. I always do, and I never pour back into myself, that's a whole different conversation for another day. Let me tell you, Scarlett, extra change has been a very, very foreign concept for you girl this year. And like, so I had that little bit of you know, and I was like, oof, oof, oof. I can do this for myself. Um, so yeah, I'll probably be reading that, and then and I promise I'm gonna let y'all go. I also decided randomly this is probably not going to actually happen, but I have a friend who's really, really into Danmei, right? And I have been seeing Danmei kind of like blow up slowly, and I just haven't done it yet. And there's so much that Seven Seas is putting out. So I was like, oh, you know what I'm gonna try to do? I'm gonna try to read one or two Danmei 2 while um 30 and 30 is going on. So I'm starting with this one. I'm gonna try. I don't think I'm gonna finish this one before 30 and 30 starts, so I may just carry it over. But this is the first one that I'm going with. Um and they're so thick. I know Hannah, you read. I know you if Hannah's still here. I know Hannah reads Don May a lot, and it's my just I, listen, because she talks about it all the time, and she's completely obsessed. Like I saw her, we worked together, and I saw her today, and she like we had probably like a 20-minute conversation about the Don May that because that's what I was like, oh, last night I watched like a 45-50 minute YouTube video on like the history of Don May and how it's kind of like blown up into the global like market and um, like the licensing that's been going on and how much of it is getting produced now. And she just went on this whole thing about it. And I was like, I think it's just time for me to step into Dominic because I feel like it. Oh, thank you, Heather. Y'all both are so sweet to me. I appreciate you. You wonderful humans, you. You're the next volume of Heaven's official blessing. Okay. Yeah, I've been saying it because I know that you've been reading quite a bit of it. Um, Heaven's official blessing this month. Are you finished with the entire series? I feel like it's like 8 volumes, isn't it? Like 8 volumes. Yes, the drama. I did not like. I came across somebody's review of the one that I'm reading, and like it was a dissertation on how bad of a translation it was, and I was like, I was like, you know what? Oh goodness gracious! I'm like, what am I stepping into now? But I know that so many people love Heaven's official blessings or Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. I know that people really, really love both of those. Hello. Like the whole series? That's crazy. I'm ready. Let the rest up from my basement out getting them, so I'm gonna finish them no matter what. Okay. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to get them. Like it's been hard for me to get them at my library too. So it's kind of like I just want to read one and see how I feel about it and then go from there. We'll see. That's what they switched to the official when I finally came to the pushes. Yeah. Up to volume 3 or 4, I think. Yeah, I'm interested. We'll see. And they're wild. Like this one, the husky and his white cat, Shizum, like the first page is wild. Like really, really wild. It's shocking. But yeah. All right, y'all. That's it. Um I will see y'all. Remember September 25th for our September live show. And the name of the book once again is Banned Book Club by Kim Suk. I would check to see if your library has it. via Hoopla because we always try to pick titles that are available via Hoopla for most libraries because getting these books would be an expensive purchase, and we try to make this as accessible as possible. Um, so just keep that in mind. I think probably sometime in October, or not October, because that's Blackoween, but hopefully sometime in November, Bree and I will sit down and we will already start prepping. It's about that time for us to start thinking about consideration titles for the 2025 book club. So we are going to be continuing this into 2025. Um, and hopefully we will get those selections out to y'all by December. I will see y'all then. Um, get ready for 30 and 30. Get it prepped for 30 and 30. Um, and yes, have a good night, y'all. Have a good rest of your week. And have a good weekend. It's so good to see you too, Heather. Miss you, friend. All right, y'all. Good night.